All right, folks, I am back. Little bit of a bummer here. I am trying to go live on another platform that it just isn't working out. I'm not really sure what's going on there, which is a shame because I've now been struggling with said platform for the past you know 3 or 4 weeks. All right. So there were some great comments that were in the stream there. Obviously, we have people who have experienced changes as a result of transition. So what I wanted to do now is bring up what happened. Like, what are the changes to my life, to my well-being? What are some of those advantages? Because the interesting thing, so the cognitive changes alone, which were very significant, those changes have brought with them primarily the ability to be wrong. And maybe you look at that and you maybe hear that and you go, well, nobody wants to be wrong. Like, why would you say, that's not like a superpower, right? True. The ability to listen to somebody, though, the ability to listen and to hear and to say, okay, I understand where you're going. I understand what you could be saying. Those are huge. It's very important that I think it's very important if you're going to be successful in the world today to be able to hear somebody's argument and to say, understood. I did not see every part of this. It's important to be able to be wrong. And in my opinion, of all of the changes I've had, from mental health improvements to my changes in physical health, I think one of the biggest is this ability just to allow myself to be wrong, to say, okay, I understand. There's also something else, and I have not been horrible. Like, when as a manager, I feel like I've been pretty good at saying I don't know. When somebody says, how are we going to do such and such? I don't know. Let's find out. I've not been bad at that, but that is not prized certainly in technology, and certainly not in not prized of the typical middle class white man in Western society. The ability to say I don't know, and the thing is that just saying I don't know opens up so much. It's not an admission of powerlessness. It is an admission that there's things that are going on that are bigger than you are. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's good that there's a world that maybe we don't know everything, that we always could stand to learn something, because when we can stand to learn, or when we can learn something, that means we can improve. And anytime you get somebody, because I've experienced this, often, particularly in technology, when you get somebody who just always knows, that they always know, you're talking about somebody that, in my opinion, actually has low confidence. They have to prove to you that in some way they're superior, because now they know something you don't. And that the worst part about that too, I have been in, and I mean, I'm not saying I've been immune to this. One of the things that I've done before, is I'll get into an argument. Okay, I don't even really agree with what I'm saying. I mean, this was years ago, right? This is pre-transition. I wouldn't even necessarily agree with what I had to say, but I will lean into it over and over and over, because I just don't want to say I don't know. I don't want to be wrong. You're not supposed to be wrong when you're the stereotypical white man in technology. That's awful. You look weak, but you don't is the thing. When your ability, when you are able to admit that maybe you don't know something and that maybe somebody else might, first of all, you improve relationships, if nothing else, but you also get toward a better solution. I mean, this is, I think, true in almost any circumstance. Almost any circumstance. So keeping on here says it takes courage. Yeah, it's funny. It takes courage. It takes courage to say you don't know. It takes courage to say you're not at a point where you can do this, without, any sort of help. Crazy to think. It takes courage to ask for help. But it's true. It's true. And I won't kid you. I still struggle with that. I mean, I think I'm much better in a conversation now that I can say I don't know or I am wrong. But I do still struggle when I have my own depression. I do still struggle to go, you know what? I could use somebody just to listen to me. Give me the 8 minutes. I think it was 8 minutes that, Simon Sinek talks about. But these cognitive changes have also brought other advantages. This final advantage, I think, is a huge one. It's the ability, I think I would just call it the ability to allow myself to have fun. Just to go have fun. I don't mind at this point looking foolish. Who am I trying to impress? I've already been a target. I mentioned that an hour ago. I've already been a target. Who cares if I look foolish? Who cares if I make fun of myself? I've had people, it's funny, I've had people where I did make fun of myself. I mean, if any of you saw the video that came out on June 30th, the last day of Pride Month, I'm not afraid to look foolish. I'm not afraid to make fun of myself. And I've had some people go, why would you do that? Oh my gosh, you look foolish. Why are you doing that? And it's like, listen, life has a lot of ridiculous experiences. And if all we are is this, I don't want to use the word stiff upper lip so much, or the phrase stiff upper lip, but if all we are is this false, gosh, I mean, it's another mask. Sorry, I'm processing this in my head as I'm trying to say it. I mean, if we're always trying to be serious, it's another mask. I just took off a mask. I threw it away, it was 3 years ago tomorrow. But that's a huge thing, I think. The ability not to wear those masks and just to say, this is who I am. This is who I'll always be. And life is ridiculous. Life is not always about looking strong. Life is about being able to accept when you don't. And so I think these are cognitive changes that are huge, because what they did is give me this ability, and I think this is huge. It gives me the ability to live life on my terms. I'm not living life on the terms of Western society. I'm not living life on the terms of science, like chemistry. I'm not living my life in the terms of startup companies and technology. I'm not living my life with C-suites, tech bros. Not living life on their terms. I'm living life on my terms. 3 years now that I feel I've been able to live life the way I want to. What that does is actually take me outside of the social environment. I can see myself not as like this cog on a wheel of the social environment. I'm outside of it. I'm an actual person. And any social environment is a collection of people, not a collective of people. It can be. But typically it's a set of individual people, all of whom have their own motivations and everything. So this is huge. I'm outside the social environment. I can see myself as somebody worth caring for and worth nurturing. And I've mentioned there are down periods. I still struggle. Gender transition has not solved everything. but I see myself as somebody worth caring for and worth nurturing. Let me actually read a couple of comments here. So Margie quotes Bjork in Big Time Sensuality that says it takes courage to enjoy this. I think it takes courage to say that you enjoy just about anything, right? Because there's going to be somebody. I mean, we've all seen these fanboy type people. Every time a new Star Wars movie comes out, or whatever, you know, Lord of the Rings, when those movies came out, you know, you have fanboys who are going to pile on and go, ugh, really? I don't think, you know, Tolkien would have agreed with this. I don't think whatever. By the way, Margie, I just want to point out, regarding Margie's comment, it is pi time. It's 3.14, so it's 3:14. Anyway, I mean, we've seen this. Anytime that you want to enjoy something, if you go, I like whatever this is, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's, you know, a movie, you take a risk because you're going to have somebody else who's going to go, oh, you liked that? Oh my God, what is wrong with you? You're weird. Get out of my social environment. So as Lana says it first of all, hello, Lana, good to see you. Lana says we all struggle when we aren't being authentic. What's crazy is that I think we struggle first to be authentic, right? I mean, that's the harder thing. It's more difficult to be authentic if we play into other people's expectations. I think that's easy. And I don't mean that in a condescending kind of way, because there are a lot of people who are more than willing at this point just to go, you know what, I'm just going to do, I'm not going to cause waves. I'm just going to do what somebody else wants me to do. And I don't think that's necessarily bad or wrong or whatever, but you're going to struggle because you're not necessarily doing what nourishes you, what feeds you. So of course you struggle. So it's hard to be authentic, but then it's hard not to be authentic. Anyway, let's see. So Brenda also says she spent her whole life analyzing everything. Did I do something too feminine? Yeah. Was a gesture too girly? Yes. Did I say something that sounded weak? I am starting to just be. I don't think that so much. I think you've said exactly what I'm trying to say there. I think that's what I mean by saying the ability to live life on my terms. I don't have to worry if I look foolish. I don't have to worry. Like if somebody comes into a stream and goes, really? Nobody listens to people with purple hair. I go, okay, you don't, and that's fine. Like I care. It's the ability to live life on our terms, and that's huge. Margie says, I have found it's much, much easier and always worthwhile to express love for my fellow human beings. We need more love for everyone. Yeah, you know, I'm not saying you're wrong. I believe that helps. It's interesting. I answered a comment today. I'm trying to remember who sent the comment. But somebody said, you know, kill them with kindness. I almost feel it was you, Brenda. Maybe I'm wrong. But the idea that we look at the political climate around us and what we do is instead of trying to get angry and fight it, you know, to go, listen, I'm going to accept you. I'm going to express my love to you. And I think you're right, Margie. In the end, I think that it's better for us to be accepting, much better to be accepting than just to go, oh, forget it, I'm out of here and walk away, certainly. And I'm curious now what we're looking at. You know, I'm curious if what's going to happen is we, you know, if what we're going to see in this political climate is more violence, more pain. It's a, you know, I'm a little unsure. You know, I'm frightened to see what's going to happen because we are starting to see, I think, people who are now either empowered or enraged or, you know, whatever it might be, just going out and just, well, I'm going to go do something really freakish. All right, gave me the ability to live life on my terms. I think that's true. The physical changes, I'm going to tell you, they brought ups and downs, right? Clearly, I lost strength. Now that much I can say. I've never had like high upper body strength, but my I've lost strength, no doubt. To a point I believe Angela made like 40 minutes ago. I am also a bit more fearful walking around. I mean, especially at night. I am slower, I am weaker, physical strength, muscular strength. I have a little bit of fear. And not necessarily because I'm walking around Western society right now, although there's no doubt that's a bit creepy. It's as much just that I recognize I'm more of a physical target, and it's frightening. My endurance, in general, seems to be about the same. I've been able to even when I was trying to run a year ago, anyway, a year and a half ago, my I could still run the same distances. It just took so much longer that I ended up getting a little bored. So, it's a little more of a little less fun. An interesting tidbit here is that my pain threshold has decreased, but I think in part that's because I've become more in touch with my body. I've increased my relationship with my body, and to the point where even feeling pain is something that occurs. I mean, that's both an up and a down, right? I mean, nobody likes feeling pain, but in the meantime, what that does mean is that I can determine when I'm hurting myself, and that's kind of an important point. It was really easy for me to injure myself. In fact, I had a cycle going for a couple of years where I would run for about 6 months, and then I would fast for a week. And that fast would allow me, and this was something I did, at both the vernal and autumnal equinoxes. So, the spring and in the autumn. And my left iliotibial band, that's what it was. So the outside of my knee, my left knee, would get irritated, and then to the point where it hurt to run, and then I would fast and it would heal. And then I'd run and it'd hurt and it hurt. And I wouldn't care because I just, that's not what you do. And then I'd fast and I was healed. And I did this for a while. And it's like, I thought to myself, well, I've got a pretty good gig going here. I just have to fast and it fixes all my issues, right? No, the issue is that you're letting the injury occur. You're not supposed to feel pain. You're not supposed to do this to yourself. Don't do that. So it's an up and a down, sucks to feel pain. But the ability to care for myself is a bit, is huge, is very, very big. I will definitely say seeing the changes, the physical changes, has made me happy and continues to make me happy. 3 years ago today, I probably woke up and I looked in the mirror and I didn't know who that was. I'm not going to say probably. I looked in the mirror and I went, I don't know who that is. I wake up now, and even if I have sleepies in my eyes, my hair's a mess, I go in there and I go in one eye open and I go, oh, look, it's me. And I can't overstate that, sorry. I can't overstate the ability to look at a photograph of myself or a mirror or, a video, whatever, and go, oh, it's me. Oh, look. Because wow, 52 years of going, I mean, except for the occasional when I dress up when I was in graduate school or in general, aside from those brief moments, which were always too brief, now I wake up and every day I see myself in the mirror. I see my body shaped the way that I've always wanted it to be. I mentioned that, my surgery anniversary is this coming Friday. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this on a different time. I also want to bring up too, but I'll do it at the end. I'm going to start doing two live streams, but I'll talk about it again in a moment. Surgery has brought just a tremendous amount of peace. And at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I wrote an article about this too. And I didn't realize it. There was a lot of energy in the way that I looked in the way my body was shaped that I didn't recognize was there. It was a lot of energy, and it's very distressing without being obvious, or it was very distressing without being obvious. And I don't know how better to put that, really. But surgery, because I got a little bit of breast augmentation, and then I got a vaginoplasty. The vaginoplasty in particular had effects I would never have guessed. Huge cognitive effects, energetic effects. So let me see. So first of all, there's a Ghostbusters theme, or a Ghostbusters reference. And I love that plan. I'm happy to be a part of it. So, all right. Margie says, when I initially contemplated presenting Femme publicly, I was convinced it would be constant low-grade terror. I was astounded that I actually felt safer. That's interesting. When I first started presenting Femme, I would say that it was terror to a certain extent. And I think I still have a little bit of terror but it's largely because of, well, again, I think it's perceptions. I mean, I'm concerned that other people are going to look at me and go, that's not. So I'm concerned about that. What's interesting is now I'm seeing that's happening to cisgender people as well. That it's not, that I'm not the one who's necessarily in fear here, but you have kind of butch looking cisgender women who are going into restrooms and being ejected. And they're like, what the hell? I was assigned female at birth. It's even supposed to be here? So I don't know. I've got two ideas on that. Because, I mean, it's one thing to know I look the way I want to look. I feel confident, and I think that confidence exudes outward. And so I think that helps me feel safer. And at the same time, just with how weird, people are these days, I'm a little concerned. There's still some concern there. So, all right. Angela says, the problem now compared to when I first transitioned is that people now know what a trans woman is. Yeah, I think that it kind of sums it up. And now people are willing to look for it. It's not just, oh, I know what that is. It's now that people know, now they're searching for it, because some people want to, be mean against it. So they're trying to make trouble. And so that's something that is a little bit frightening. But anyway, good. It's a great point. Thank you, Angela. Shakespeare brings up the point, pain is a treat sometimes. Well, gotta love the dopamine in kinky times. True. I save that generally for piercings. I guess is where I'd want to go. Brenda says, research shows that our pain threshold does tend to lower, due to HRT, because testosterone changes how pain receptors react. All right. Interesting. I got to tell you, I guess I wasn't aware of that. That's not something I did any research on. So thank you for bringing that up. Do you see, by the way, I just wanted to say, I admitted I didn't know, and I was okay looking foolish, because what that did was teach me, look, I could, 3 years ago I might have gone, I don't think that's true. Let's look it up on Google. And then I'd be wrong, and I go, yeah, well, here are reasons why, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Margie says that she dated a transgender woman 20 years before she transitioned herself. Look at that. So Margie's gender dysphoria was masked by abuse dysphoria. No wonder I feel crappy as a man, right? I did not talk a lot about the cognitive changes. I believe gender dysphoria presents as a whole lot of different symptoms. And when I talked to my psychologist, I mentioned that I was like, look, I suddenly have this clarity, but I think there are other things that psychologists have seen in me that were really gender dysphoria showing up, as opposed to, as opposed to whatever it is they were thinking, dissociative symptoms, whatever. So I think it's an interesting point. Now that I've been on, here's my station identification. I am Amethyst Herrick. I'm here talking on the Identify Yourself podcast, and I'm talking about the changes that I've experienced, at least, through 3 years of gender transition. Woohoo! All right. Tracy says that's interesting because she's found with HRT that over time certain pain feels paradoxically good. I think it depends on what it is. There is a little bit of me when I was young, and I don't want to talk a whole lot of all of this, but when I was younger, especially in graduate school, where causing myself physical pain was useful, at least in part because it would drown out other crummy feelings. If I could focus on a physical bit of physical pain, it was easier than dealing with an emotional pain. And so I don't know if that's what you mean so much in it feeling paradoxically good, but I'd be interested in hearing more about that. Let's see. So Angela says, yeah, pain can enhance your sexual high. I'm not gonna debate that. All right, Margie says she dreams of surgery. I'm facing a 5-year wait. Oof, for an orchiectomy. Ouch. That's a bummer. Let's see. So Shakespeare says, yo, piercings? I have none, but I want my first one to be hook and chain suspension from the back. That's a significant piercing. Let me just tell you. Then maybe get my ears done as a classic second choice. Yeah, why not? Sure. I have always liked piercings. I like piercings more than tattoos. Done tastefully. I tend to like piercings more than tattoos. So like right now, I think everybody knows I've got both nostrils pierced. Earlier on in life, I did have both nipples pierced. I had my navel pierced at one point. I've had my tongue done, I don't know, 3 times. It's fun to me. I like that. It's also something that and I've got tons of them in my ears. I think I've got a total of 10 across both ears. But it's something obviously I didn't want to do when I was in aerospace, right? I mean, it was like, oh, I've got to be the person that these people want. So there you go. Oh my gosh. Lana says she has a lot to learn because she just started HRT 2 weeks ago. First of all, can I just throw a big heart to you? 2 weeks ago, go you! Woohoo! I just want to call that out. Ooh, hang on, look at this. Let me do this. Skinnip. Puts it right there on the screen, right? Thank you so much for sharing that. I am really, really excited about that. I think there is so much that your life is going to do. It's going to open up so much. I think it's going to be great. Angela actually says her pain threshold increased since she transitioned. Isn't that weird? I don't know why that would be, but I like that. So this is kind of crazy. Here's somebody who's asking for somebody to run a third term when they can't. So Margie gives Lana congratulations as she's starting the best journey. So Lana says, and I love this, says, yeah, thanks. Can't wait to ask, does my bum look big in this? Right? All right, so I want to talk about where things go from here. Right? I've been 3 years. Into HRT. And, what do we got, right? Where am I going from this? Or where am I going from here? I've been on here now an hour and a half. And, we're having a good time. Well, I'm having a good time. Hopefully everybody else is. But, hopefully everybody comments and everything. And thank you so much for all your comments, your stories. What is the point in all this? Why even bother talking about this? The main point I want to make is that in contrast to where I was 3 years ago today, I want to go somewhere from here. 3 years ago, I did not. Today, I want to move forward. Pardon me. Today, I want to continue to express myself. And I think that's awesome because now I feel free. Now I feel free to express myself however I choose. I feel free to express myself physically with piercings or tattoos or hair or clothes. I feel free to express myself that I did not have 3 years ago. I feel free to express myself emotionally, which is a very significant point. 3 years ago, I didn't really feel a lot of emotions. And I certainly, if I did, would not have felt comfortable expressing them. I cry a lot. I've been crying a lot for 3 years. Not every day, not, it's not the kind of thing that I would go, oh, this is something to watch. It's not a danger sign kind of thing. It's my ability to engage with life, expressing myself emotionally. I feel that now too, the work that I've been doing, such as these streams, as well as the identity guidance I've done, and now hypnosis that I've gotten into. Which if you ever want anything to do with hypnosis, there's the signpost down below. Your next stop, the Purple Paw Clan. I'm doing work that nourishes my soul, and I cannot even believe that I'm capable of doing that. I can see a long future now ahead of me, right? I have real goals. I have actual goals for the first time ever. And I don't mean goals like the American dream goals, where they go, well, you need to make 6 figures. And once you made 6 figures, you got to make 7 figures. And once you've made 7 figures, you got to make 8 figures. You got to make sure you have the fancy titles, that you have the corner office, that you have the BMW, that you have the company, whatever. This is a bit of travel. And no, those are not goals. The goals I have now are to help people feel better about themselves, to help me feel better about myself. These are real goals. These are goals that benefit humanity. These are not goals that are based in materialistic foolishness. All right, let me actually look at a couple of these right here. So Margie says, the answer, so speaking of, does my bum look big? The answer when it's yes is so affirming. Yeah. Margie says she loves her jiggly booty. There you go. Tracy says, here I'm considering industrial and maybe nipples or navel. Yeah, there you go. I'm telling you, there's something to it. It's not for everybody. I won't kid you. It's not for everybody, but I would say, it's worth one. Get your ears done, get your nose done maybe. I think a nice nose piercing looks really good. That's my opinion. There's a lot of congratulations to Lana here. That's good. Lana is saying she's finally going to ride without stabilizers. That is sweet. What do we got here? Oh, Brenda says, not just existing, living. Right. So true. Margie says, funny that Lana should say that. Margie bought E for a friend who can now stop her mood stabilizers thanks to estradiol injections. Yeah, it's fascinating. To go back to the idea that the gender dysphoria presents as different symptoms, including depression, including anxiety, including dissociative symptoms, I would say, including, several different classes of what would be in the DSM-5. I think when we treat what's the real source of it, because I know, I don't know if I would call that comorbid. I don't like the phrase comorbid, the idea that there are 2 pathologies at once. But gender dysphoria can either exacerbate or I think be perceived as something totally different. And I believe that you have a friend, Margie, who can discontinue certain prescriptions because of estradiol injections. So Lana says it was so affirming when we watched your videos after your surgery. Oh gosh, like a year ago? Thank you. That was it's so fascinating. So one of the platforms that I've posted videos on, it says, hey, last year or this time, do you remember this story? And I remember I looked at one, I was like, what the hell was that? And I hit it, and it says, we're just about to leave for the airport I'm just about to leave for the airport to get on a plane to start flying to Thailand. And I was like, wow, that was yesterday. Because yesterday was when we got on the plane. We would have flown to Los Angeles and then flown to Bangkok, or well, not directly, but to Southeast Asia. And I was like, oh my gosh, so crazy to remember some of these things from a year ago now. So Margie says I will personally vouch for the efficacy of hypnotherapy. She also says she owes her survival long ago to it. I actually, I mean, I only got into hypnotherapy because I believe in it. And I mean, you don't really have to believe in something necessarily for it to work. I When I started looking into it, I went, "Oh my gosh, I think this could help so many people." And I saw that it could be used for almost anything. Obviously, some things maybe not, but it's. I think it's important. I think it's a really good modality for treating a lot of behavior. So, all right. Yeah, let me go back to what I was going to say here. The biggest changes, I think, and I think this is really one of my big summary points here. The biggest changes that gender transition has brought me: the ability to see myself, which sounds simple, but I see myself in the mirror. I see myself in other people's eyes. I see myself in my social environment. I see myself moving forward. I see myself as part of a bigger system. I see myself. That's not trivial. That's not trivial. When you spend most of your life and you don't see yourself, you don't realize you really truly exist. Seeing yourself is huge. Very, very huge. Ancillary to that, once you can see yourself, or I suppose that's corollary then to it, not ancillary, but corollary to that is the ability to care for myself. Unless you can see yourself truly and see yourself as a part of something and worth caring for, you cannot care for yourself. And so now I have the ability to care for myself. That's one of the bigger changes. I can see myself, and as a result, I can care for myself. And then lastly, I have the ability to trust myself. Whereas I would second guess everything I said. I know somebody made a point here. I think it was Angela earlier said, was that gesture too feminine? Was something I said not going well? Now I have the ability to trust myself. I don't always think I do everything great. For the most part, I don't think I do much great. But I do trust being able to put it out there. I do trust me being able to feel my emotions and me being able to feel my pain, me being able to be the person I am. And that person is right and that person is true because that person is me. And one of the last change that gender transition brought me, it brought me the desire, a true desire to be everything I know I can be. And if you were to ask me 3 years ago, today, what do you know you can be? I think I would have said nothing. And those who promoted the American dream will go, well, what? Look what you got. You got the house, the wife, the cars, the whatever else. You can buy whatever electronic widgety thingy you can. Your little heart desires. I would say my heart doesn't desire it. Because I don't know what I can be. I don't know what I can do. I don't know if I care. And now, I know that I can be certain things and I have the desire to achieve it. I really do not want to talk about politics. I want to talk about any people. I don't want to talk about any any laws, any legislation, any whatever. I am going to say this. I just talked about the biggest changes, my ability to see myself, care for myself, trust myself, figure out what I want to be and bring up the desire to be it. Any society that wants to prevent growth in its members is doomed to end. We've seen this historically over and over and over again. If you want them, the most recent history is the Roman Empire, but you could look at many others. That was the most obvious one. I mean, you can look at the Third Reich. If you look up Arnold Toynbee has a full 13-volume series across human history that this is a pattern. That when a society gets to the point where it says we don't want the members of our society to grow as people, that society is on a downward trend historically. Growth in a social environment, it occurs by understanding and accepting who we are. And I had a conversation with a guy just, last week. Gosh, it was really recent. Thursday? Maybe. Yeah, Thursday it was. Like it matters. And his name is David Allen Brown. And this particular podcast is going to publish as early August. I don't remember exactly. But he made this point where he said, acceptance is great. We do have to understand and we do have to accept who we are. But he said the real gift is when we feel gratitude that we are exactly who we are. And I think that's what I've reached, So if you have a society that tells you, don't understand yourself, don't accept yourself, don't be glad that you are the person you are, I think we're still looking at doom to end again. And just to give my little opinion here, loving your neighbor, I think it means encouraging them to pick up what gender transition brought me. I think loving your neighbor means encouraging them to be everything they can be. Find out what they want to be, and then encourage that desire to be what they want to be. So that was everything I wanted to present. Let me look at a couple of comments here. So Angela says, since she changed her voice a year ago, it was late to change. Your gestures have become more feminine. It's interesting. I think at the lack of sounding like a broken record, I wrote an article about this. I think voice is one of the hardest things. It was for me because it's changing the way it's one thing to wear certain clothing, but when I talk, those are my actual thoughts that are going outward. And so I'm changing not just my external presentation, it's my external expression. And that was very difficult for me, particularly with people I knew. Other people I didn't know, for some reason, that was pretty easy. I was just like, yeah, whatever. You don't know who I am, so. But changing your mode of expression is hard because we've grown used to it. I was used to, the way I was expressing things. It was a lot of yeah, whatever. But changing that to something that's, where you go, that's great. That's hard. That's very difficult. All right, I got a bunch of comments here that I got to plow through. Sorry. Station identification. I am Amethyst Eric. You're listening to Identify Yourself podcast. I am talking about all the changes that 3 years of gender transition hath wrought. All right, let's see. Tracy says, I felt a lot of emotions before I began social and medical transition, but I've almost always had to stuff it back down. Transitioning has been an opportunity to express my emotions authentically. So I love that. I'm unsure if I'd make a distinction so much between stuffing them down and not feeling them at all. Because I know that I felt something. I didn't allow myself to feel them, and maybe they're the same thing. I don't think I could have identified them. I think that's the main thing. I certainly knew that there was something going on, but I couldn't identify it, and maybe we're saying the same thing. That being said, yes, the opportunity to express, to acknowledge, to feel, and to express those emotions authentically is so huge. So huge. Brenda says, speaking of crying, I'm making the estrogen cause her eyes to water. I don't know. It's not me. Keeping on. I remember when weed was illegal, estradiol could be like this in Trump's America. It's a good question. Such a good question. Uh, the worst thing, so I mean, I did something so I think it was last week where I talked about statistics, and I said, if you're going to use statistics, your only way forward in terms of making progress on your not argument is legislation. And even though all these executive orders have come out, although we have the big beaver bill, whatever it's called, I think that the legislation is just going to be rolled back. I don't know how long Trump's America is going to last, but it's not like that. All that stuff's going to stay, and I think it's almost funny and almost sad that we have people who are like, "Woohoo! We got the America we wanted." Sure, like for a couple weeks, live it up. So Tracy says, "Oh, when you watch the video you're tagged in, you will see that piercing isn't something I'm afraid of anymore." Good. There you go. Louise says, "Oh, Robert Burns. Oh, look at this. Wow, look at this." Louise quotes Robert Burns, and I think it's actually from the same. I think it's from the same poem. So this is in sort of a. If I remember correctly, Robert Burns was either Scottish or Welsh, and I'm trying to remember which. But he was also the one who wrote the best laid plans of mice and men aft Gwynaglee. And I know you might go, what the hell is that? Oh, they're the same things as, oh, add some power, the gifty gie us, to see ourselves as others see us. Anyway, that is great. I do love that, Louise. The idea of being able to see ourselves in other people's eyes. Robert Burns that was a good one. Thank you for bringing that up. So Dre says, religious right equating falsely self-acceptance with arrogance or pride. I find that to be the opposite. I think that is a, how do they say it in mathematics? An inverse relationship. There was somebody, oh gosh, now I meant to follow up on this because I lost that comment. The comment said sometimes the louder people shout, it's more of an indication that they know they're wrong. And I don't remember who said that, and I quoted that kind of poorly, but I do agree. It's really interesting when people don't believe exactly what they're saying, they double down on it. Rather than, to go back with the idea of saying, I'm allowed to be wrong, I'm allowed to be foolish, I'm allowed to acknowledge pie time. Yeah, if you ever get to a point where you go, oh crap, I know I'm wrong, so I'm just going to yell it louder. That's arrogance, that's pride, that is not self-acceptance, that's not confidence. That's fear that you're wrong. What a shame. What a shame. Angela now says it was particularly hard for her as her employer didn't know she was trans. And she did ask why I changed my voice, but got away with it. Interesting. So you did that while you were working. I got to tell you, so one thing that I guess I will say I'm is it glad? I don't know how I want to put this. One thing I'm glad I didn't do was stay in technology. Like, I'm glad I did not continue to try to be a manager in startup technology firms, because I think I would have struggled. I really think I would have struggled to be effective. And so I if nothing else, I honor you for doing that, for staying in your profession and transitioning, because I wasn't confident enough to do it. Of course, I also, like I said at the very beginning, I said, I'm not sure after 25 years that I really enjoy this. Now that I've been away from it almost 3 years, 2.5 years that I've been doing content creation full time, I'm not sure I ever liked it. I wondered. I had a conversation with a friend of mine recently, and he's talking. He's, oh, look at these cool technology things I did. I'm working on this JVM type thingy with other AI bits schmutzed on top of it that has a. And I went, oh yeah, isn't that interesting? I don't know if I care. I mean, I said it more kindly than that. I can go, you know what, quit talking about this. Okay, we have better things to talk about, like the color of my nail polish, how beautiful I've turned out. I didn't do it like that, but, it's fascinating now to be like, yeah, I don't really care. I don't really care. All right, so Louise says, someone may have mentioned this already, but pride bans were ignored all over the world. Louise, I did a transgender joy yesterday, where I talked about, in particular in Budapest, just so everybody knows too, my partner is was born in the United States to people who immigrated from Hungary, and I want to say this delicately. At the moment, I'm not on really great terms with my partner's mother. She is the one who's Hungarian, and seeing that at least 100,000 people, there was an estimate of about 100,000 people who went across a bridge over the Danube, I believe is the river there going through Budapest. Seeing more than 100,000 people when there's a prime minister, Viktor Orban, who says he will arrest people, that they were going to have drones out and facial recognition things. I mean, people were frightened, very, very frightened. And to see that 100,000 people still showed up. I'm not remembering the name of the mayor of Budapest. I wish I could remember, but that person was quoted as saying, "Hey, it's a city thing. Get your bands out of here." And I love that. Yeah, there's a lot of there were a lot of oppression. I think I said there are a lot of oppressive societies that are sort of just being ignored. That doesn't mean that the oppression has gone away, right? But it's something, and I'm glad to see that. I'm very, very happy to see that. Shakespeare brings up that she is a Hungarian American trans woman. Right. There we go. It was awesome to see the huge turnout despite the huge turnout despite the low fast eating dictator. Am I going to be banned for that? Am I going to? Do you remember the name of the Do you remember the name of the mayor there, Shakespeare? I wish I could remember. I think it's a she, but maybe it's a he. My thorns have roses. First of all, I just want to say I love that name, as I always have. Transition for her, for them, I guess I don't know pronouns off the top of my head. Transition for them has been a deeply personal exploration of self. They don't worry about how others view them. Some people see them in a way that feels affirming, but if they don't, I keep moving forward. I don't know if it's, you know what, can I share this one again? Let me show it. Ooh, look at that. I'm so excited by this little tool here. I don't know why that other platform didn't work, but I do like this tool. I really, really like this. I really like this comment here. We do have to keep forward or keep moving forward. It's so easy to get caught up in other people's perceptions and expectations of who we are. And so much of what I've written about has been about, that really what we face in terms of gender dysphoria is fear of pissing other people off, fear of not fulfilling social expectations we never should have been forced to fulfill in the first place. So it's ridiculous. It's really, really ridiculous. So thank you for that. Let's see. Trace also says that's amazing. I wish that for every person seeking to be authentic. Yes. Yes, so much, so much, so much. And My Thorns Have Roses says, I appreciate her most of all. Thanks. Carly says it's about all we can do. Yeah, despite all the challenges, we must persist. We absolutely must. We can't stop. This is not the time to stop. We can be upset, we can be afraid, but we cannot be absent. We cannot be blank. We cannot be cowed into closeting ourselves again. And if nothing else, that's part of why I do this kind of thing. And I'm bringing this up in part because now I want to shut it down. Been going almost 2 hours here. But yeah, don't let other people stop you from being the person you are. Shakespeare says this is it. Well, I got to show that one too. Joy is worth fighting for. Joy is absolutely worth fighting for. I believe you. On that note, I do want to thank everybody who has come up, who has commented, or has come out to showed up. That's what I mean. Everybody who showed up today, who's listening. I mean, I'm looking at several, more people than I think have commented. So thank you for listening today. Thank you if you've made a comment. Carly, Shakespeare, Drace, and My Thorns Have Roses, Angela, Brenda, Louise, Margie. Thank you to every single one of you, because when we get together like this, not to do a where two or more people gather in my name kind of thing, but when we do things like this, we continue to make the world a better place. And so all I'm going to say is, and Lana too, thank you so much, and congratulations to Lana. All I want to say is that, it's these kinds of things are important, and we do not want to stop that. And on that note, oh gosh, I had totally forgotten. I'm going to start doing this. If you're still around, my top's gotten a little bit crooked here, and I can't figure it out when I'm mirrored on a screen, so forget it. I'm going to start doing 2 live streams a day. Not today, 2 live streams a week. What I want to do at some point is, not at some point, starting Tuesday, I want to be able to bring in guests. And I have no trouble, I can do that with this tool. It'll be awesome. So if you would be interested in dropping in on this live stream, especially Tuesday, so I'm looking right now at 5 p.m. Mountain Time, which I think is about 10 p.m. New Zealand time, 10 a.m. New Zealand time, maybe 11 a.m. If you have any, and you figure it out in between, if you're somewhere in between, if you would like to drop in and talk for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever, Keeping On also is here. Send me an email, and I would love to bring you into the show, and we have a little conversation. Because what I was going to do on Tuesdays, today I kind of had a topic. I want to do on Tuesdays just kind of like the quick thoughts that come into my head. And so somebody comes in, and I'll just throw a quick thought out there, and we both have a little conversation. I think that might be kind of fun. So that's what I'm going to start next Tuesday. And I'd love you to, if you want to do that, it's purplepocland.com/contact, and you can send me an email, and or if you want to drop a comment in the this whatever it's called. Well, you know what? I need an email address no matter what to send you a link. So there you go. I'm gonna end this just because I kind of gotta. Nothing wrong with being a drag queen doesn't make you a woman. No, because those are 2 different things. And I think if you were maybe more in touch with the queer community, maybe the distinction would have been more obvious. I don't think any of us debates that. So there you go. All right. On that note, reach out if you want to talk. I already see Margie saying yes. And I will see you on Tuesday night. Thank you. Bye.